Witnesses in Colombia observed the object gliding with purpose until it struck high-voltage power lines and dropped to the ground. What they recovered wasn't just unusual, it was unlike anything we've ever seen.
The confirmation arrived on a quiet, silver-hazed morning when the last thing anyone expected was a message from the void.
It violated a lot of what we thought was impossible to violate. I mean, one of the first laws of thermodynamics, essentially, any machine, any device that operates always makes extra heat.
For weeks, murmurs had circulated through scientific circles about strange telemetry coming from the Buga Sphere, that perfectly smooth celestial body drifting at the edge of our observational reach. Some considered it an astronomical curiosity, others a natural satellite with an unusually reflective surface, and a few insisted it was nothing more than an oversized asteroid polished by some freak cosmic process. Yet the newest data cut through all hesitation. The Buga Sphere was transmitting signals, unmistakable and mathematically precise, structured in ways nature rarely, if ever, produced on its own. After years of speculation, the world finally had to face the possibility that humanity was not the only architect of deliberate information in the cosmos. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates.
When I first saw it, I thought that this was a US-made, very advanced next-generation fighter, and in fact that this would explain all the UFO sightings.
The first threads of the signal were faint, buried under the usual hum of background radiation and the jitter of electromagnetic noise that surrounds planetary observation. Analysts at multiple observatories noticed patterns that stretched across frequencies in exact multiples, as if woven through different layers of the spectrum. Each recurrence matched ratios too consistent to be random. Once the algorithms began syncing, once the filters isolated the repeating steps, and once the tones stabilized into something resembling intention, the realization spread quickly. The Buga Sphere was speaking in a language of structured energy. From that moment forward, the scientific world held its breath. The confirmation of such a transmission meant that the sphere, long regarded as a curiosity, was in fact a technological artifact. It behaved nothing like a planet, comet, or asteroid. Its rotational characteristics were too stable, its surface too uniform, its motion too deliberate. Anyone who had once dismissed the object as a trick of cosmic coincidence found themselves grappling with evidence that it was an engineered construct emitting information into space. The implications carried both awe and unease. For centuries, humans had wondered whether the universe harbored other minds. Now the answers seemed to resonate across the stars with undeniable clarity. As observatories aligned and satellite dishes reoriented, the data flow strengthened. The signals possessed a rhythmic cadence, pulsing with a timing that suggested intelligence rather than randomness. The intervals followed sequences that mirrored prime number progressions, harmonic spacings, and geometric mappings. Layers of modulation overlapped in a way that resembled the simultaneous chords of a complex instrument. Each reinforcement of the pattern tightened the case that the transmission was deliberate. Teams of astrophysicists, mathematicians, information theorists, and linguists collaborated in frantic unity. Their workstations glowed through late nights as they decoded structures, mapped repetition cycles, and cross-referenced synchronicities with astronomical events. What emerged was not a direct communication they could yet understand, but a framework of intention. The Buga Sphere was not only emitting energy, it was shaping it with precision. The universe had suddenly become more crowded. Understanding what the sphere was required unraveling how it functioned. Optical scans revealed no craters, no fractures, no markings consistent with natural formation. Its surface reflected incident radiation in a perfectly even gradient, as though composed of material capable of absorbing light at controlled depths. Spectroscopic analysis hinted at alloys far beyond earthbound metallurgy, composites whose interactions with electromagnetic fields produced effects bordering on the exotic. Its gravitational influence aligned with its mass calculations, but the density implied internal structure rather than homogeneous composition. All signs pointed to the same conclusion. The Buga Sphere was a manufactured entity. The discovery challenged every assumption about humanity's place in the cosmos. If the sphere was technological, it had creators. If it had creators, those creators possessed the means to fabricate an object thousands of kilometers across and situate it precisely where it would drift in perfect stability. Nothing about its existence suggested hastiness. It appeared ancient, deliberate, and infinitely more advanced than anything terrestrial engineering could attempt. The realization produced an intellectual tension between wonder and caution. The signals, though structured, did not correspond to any known linguistic system or physical coding scheme. They offered no immediate translation. Instead, the patterns behaved like introductions, mathematical opening phrases meant to demonstrate intention rather than convey detailed information. Many scientists interpreted the sequences as an invitation or a beacon. Others viewed them as diagnostics, like the automatic transmissions of a device fulfilling its programming. Both interpretations carried profound consequences. As the signal analysis deepened, its internal architecture became clearer. Beneath the primary layer of harmonic pulses lurked a secondary modulation that appeared to mirror the rotations of the sphere itself. The harmonics shifted subtly based on the object's orientation, suggesting that the transmission used its rotational energy as an encoding mechanism. This elegant symmetry further strengthened the idea that the sphere was not merely drifting, but acting as a cosmic transmitter, converting rotational motion into communication across unimaginable distances. Such craftsmanship implied mastery over energy conversion and material science far beyond human capability. The builders of the sphere did not merely utilize physics, they sculpted it. The thought that an extraterrestrial intelligence existed capable of such achievements pushed the boundaries of human imagination. It suggested civilizations that had matured past the confusions and conflicts that still consumed Earth. To create something on this scale required collaboration, stability, intelligence, and perhaps a goodwill or curiosity that transcended planetary concerns. Or, as some feared, it could stem from motivations humans could not yet fathom. The sudden global focus on the Buga Sphere created an unprecedented convergence of disciplines. Teams studying ancient myths and obscure cosmic legends were consulted to determine whether records of unusual celestial phenomena matched any earlier encounters with similar objects. Planetary scientists examined long-term orbit dynamics to determine how long the sphere might have been present. Estimates varied widely. Some models indicated it could have arrived within the last century. Others suggested it might have occupied its quiet orbit for millions of years, watching the solar system from afar. If it had been there long before humans ever looked upward, the implications were staggering. It meant the sphere had witnessed the planet through its entire arc of evolution. The idea that something had been observing Earth for ages unsettled many, yet the lack of intrusive behavior offered comfort. The sphere had never altered its course, emitted harmful radiation, or interfered with surrounding bodies. It behaved as a silent overseer, content to drift and transmit. Its activation, or at least humanity's ability to detect its activity, posed questions about whether something had recently changed. Either humans had finally built instruments sensitive enough to perceive the signals, or the sphere had deliberately amplified its output. The second possibility fascinated researchers. Why send stronger signals now? Had the builders anticipated that one day a civilization would advance enough to detect them? Was humanity being evaluated? Or was the transmission part of an automated cycle independent of terrestrial timelines? Scientists debated feverishly, offering hypotheses supported by astrophysics, communication theory, and speculative engineering. As the inquiry deepened, attention turned to the structure's potential purpose. Some argued that the sphere functioned as a galactic archive, broadcasting data across the cosmic void. In this interpretation, its signals represented stored knowledge, encoded in a format awaiting decipherment by any species able to recognize its mathematical foundations. Others believed it to be a navigational beacon, guiding interstellar travelers through regions of space. If so, the builders might still exist somewhere, using the sphere as a waypoint or a relay station. Another line of thought proposed that the object served as an interstellar warning system, a device designed to alert advanced civilizations to dangers such as black holes, gamma-ray bursts, or other cosmic threats. In this view, the signals might contain astronomical data rather than communication intended for conversation. It could be part of a larger safety network spanning the galaxy, left behind by a civilization determined to preserve life wherever it emerged. Yet an equally compelling theory suggested a far more intimate purpose. The Buga Sphere, some argued, might be an artifact of contact, an extraterrestrial probe left to observe and eventually communicate with rising species. If its transmissions had begun recently, that might indicate the builders detected Earth's technological awakening. Perhaps the proliferation of radio signals, satellites, and atmospheric disturbances triggered a response. If so, the sphere's actions were not random but reactive, acknowledging the presence of humanity. Such a possibility ignited philosophical debates. If a more advanced intelligence had taken notice, what would it think of Earth? Would it view humanity as promising or turbulent? Would it approach with curiosity or caution? The signals offered no emotional cues, no discernible tone. They were pure structure, logic converted into rhythm. As days became weeks, the transmissions grew clearer. New layers of modulation emerged, presenting complexity that exceeded anything previously detected. These additional layers behaved like recursive messages, embedding patterns within patterns, almost fractal in their architecture. Information theorists describe them as multidimensional structures projected onto linear frequencies. To fully decode them, humanity would need to construct entirely new frameworks of interpretation. While the global scientific community worked toward understanding, the presence of the sphere itself transformed public consciousness. People from all corners of the world looked skyward with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The knowledge that something built beyond Earth was sending signals stirred imaginations, fears, and aspirations. Although the transmissions were nonverbal, their implications spoke loudly. Humanity had proof that it was not alone. Cultural interpretations blossomed rapidly. Some groups viewed the sphere as a sign of cosmic kinship, a reminder that intelligent life was part of a larger tapestry. Others saw it as a challenge to reconsider humanity's priorities. If another civilization had achieved such capabilities, what did that say about Earth's own trajectory? Would humanity rise to meet the possibilities or dissolve into conflict over how to interpret them? Governments and scientific institutions doubled their efforts to collaborate, recognizing that the discovery transcended national boundaries. No single entity could claim ownership of something that existed beyond Earth, created by minds unknown. Rather than catalyzing competition, the event fostered a rare sense of collective curiosity. The sphere's signals became a shared riddle, a cosmic puzzle inviting cooperation. With every new layer of transmission decoded, humanity's understanding of itself expanded. The mathematical elegance of the signals pointed to a level of sophistication that merged science with artistry. They demonstrated that the builders valued harmony as much as precision, symmetry as much as function. Their communication was neither crude nor aggressive. Instead, it resembled a careful introduction, a demonstration of reason and intentionality. The nature of the Buga Sphere's creators remained speculative, but the signals themselves suggested a civilization that had reached beyond the limitations of its environment. If they had built such a structure, they likely possessed an understanding of physics that blended seamlessly with engineering. Their mastery of materials and energy implied stable societies capable of undertaking monumental projects. They were no longer bound to a single world or perhaps even a single star system. Their legacy drifted quietly near Earth, radiating intelligence through the void. This realization forced scientists to confront the possibility that humanity was encountering something ancient, possibly thousands or millions of years old. The sphere could be a relic of a bygone civilization. It signals the lingering heartbeat of an extinct species. Alternatively, it could be part of an active network still maintained by living beings far across the galaxy. Whether the creators still existed or not, their message endured. Speculation grew about whether humanity should respond. The signals appeared unidirectional, yet there was no guarantee that the sphere lacked receptive capability. If it was transmitting with such sophistication, it might just as easily possess the means to detect return signals. However, the lack of understanding about its purpose and intent prompted caution. Engaging in communication with an unknown intelligence required careful thought. Scientists recognized the historical gravity of such a decision. For now, they focused on understanding before replying. As the analysis continued, one of the most remarkable discoveries emerged. The signals exhibited temporal stability that defied the expected decay from cosmic interference. While ordinary electromagnetic transmissions experienced distortions over distance, the sphere's emissions remained astonishingly coherent. It was as if the object compensated dynamically for disruptions, adjusting its output in real time. This ability indicated active processing, not the behavior of an abandoned or purely automated system. The sphere was aware of its surroundings in some capacity, monitoring its environment and modulating its transmissions accordingly. This raised profound questions about the sphere's autonomy. Was it functioning with advanced artificial intelligence? Did it house biological life? Was it remotely controlled? Researchers explored the possibility that it contained a distributed network of sensors or even internal chambers dedicated to computation. Without physical access, these remain theories, but the precision of the transmissions suggested a mind, whether organic or synthetic, operating behind the signals. The discovery also highlighted a striking difference between human technological philosophy and that of the sphere's creators. Humans often constructed machines with redundancy and bulk, ensuring robustness through overbuilding. The sphere, in contrast, expressed efficiency and elegance so profound it bordered on artistry. Every analyzed aspect suggested optimization at levels humans could barely conceptualize. It appeared as if the creators had woven intelligence into the object's very fabric, merging structure and purpose to form a single integrated whole. Humanity's relationship with the cosmos changed profoundly as the signals continued. People began to imagine futures where interstellar communication was not a dream but a growing possibility. Some envisioned a slow but meaningful exchange of knowledge, perhaps lasting generations, where mathematical patterns evolved into shared understanding. Others imagined the sphere as the first stepping stone toward a larger galactic community. The excitement did not diminish the seriousness of the situation. Humanity stood at the threshold of discovering others in the universe, and the responsibility to proceed wisely weighed heavily. Yet the tone of the sphere's signals, in their disciplined elegance, conveyed neither threat nor alarm. They invited attention without demanding it, teaching through pattern rather than proclamation. As the scientific community continued to study the transmissions, a new insight emerged that deepened the mystery. The sphere's signals appeared to adjust subtly based on solar activity. When solar winds intensified, the signals shifted frequencies in ways that optimized clarity. This dynamic reaction showed an awareness of the local star environment. It implied the sphere had been designed not merely to exist in a region of space, but to operate in harmony with it. Such adaptability pointed to technological maturity on a scale humanity had never encountered. The implications extended far beyond astronomy. If the creators had mastered the integration of energy, structure, and environment, their understanding of physics might operate on principles humans had yet to discover. They might possess knowledge of space-time manipulation, the engineering of gravitational fields, or even deeper laws of the universe, still hidden from human instruments. The sphere served as a silent testament to what might be achievable once a civilization surpassed the infancy of its technological development. The world's fascination grew stronger as researchers revealed that the sphere's emissions formed not only harmonic sequences, but geometric representations encoded into electromagnetic patterns. These shapes were visible when the signals were plotted across multiple dimensions. They resembled evolving maps, spirals, tessellations, and lattice structures that conveyed relationships rather than words. They offered glimpses into a mode of thought that blended mathematics, art, and logic into one fluid medium. Understanding these representations required new interpretive frameworks. Teams specializing in cognitive science and advanced mathematics collaborated to analyze the shapes, exploring whether they depicted astronomical models, abstract concepts, or universal constants. Each discovery deepened the sense that the sphere was not transmitting messages in the way humans understood communication, but sharing a form of expression that transcended spoken language. The convergence of disciplines brought a sense of unity. Humanity was collectively engaged in deciphering the first confirmed message from beyond Earth. As people followed updates, the realization spread that the universe felt larger than before, but less lonely. For the first time, humans looked into the sky and felt seen. The ongoing study of the sphere fostered humility. It reminded humanity that technological prowess was only one measure of intelligence. The builders had created something enduring, elegant, and purposeful, an object capable of communicating across epochs. Their design demonstrated restraint rather than dominance, curiosity rather than conquest. The signals continued in their steady cadence, unhurried and patient. They carried no urgency, no commands, No signs of fear or hostility. They resonated with the confidence of a civilization that trusted others to eventually understand. The Buga Sphere remained silent in every way except through the transmissions that brushed Earth with gentle persistence. Though the full meaning of the signals remained out of reach, humanity stood transformed by their presence. They offered a reminder that intelligence could flourish across galaxies, that the universe might hold countless wonders waiting to be understood. The sphere's existence encouraged a re-evaluation of what it meant to be intelligent, to communicate, and to share a cosmos with others. As the signals pulsed onward, they became a steady companion to human curiosity. The Buga Sphere hovered at the edge of perception like a distant thought made real, sending messages that challenged humanity to grow, to learn, and to imagine beyond the boundaries of its world. Its presence marked the beginning of a new era, one defined not by isolation, but by the acknowledgement of a larger cosmic community. And so the transmissions continued, deliberate and mesmerizing, each pulse a reminder that Earth was part of a grander story woven through the stars. The deepening investigation into the Buga Sphere drew attention to aspects of the transmissions that had previously been overshadowed by their structural elegance. As analysts examined the minute fluctuations embedded in the patterns, they discovered faint periodic distortions at intervals too long and too subtle to be noticed earlier. These distortions did not disrupt the message. Instead, they behaved like gentle ripples beneath the surface of a calm sea, altering the signal almost imperceptibly. When mapped over extended observation periods, the distortions aligned with distant celestial cycles, hinting that the sphere might be synchronizing its broadcasts with cosmic rhythms far beyond the solar system. This revelation added an entirely new layer of complexity. If the sphere's creators had designed it to resonate with or utilize large-scale cosmic cycles, they must have possessed a deep understanding of gravitational patterns, stellar evolution, and interstellar dynamics. Human astrophysics recognized such cycles, but only in limited contexts. The idea of a transmission anchored not merely to a single star system, but to the broader celestial architecture suggested a level of scientific sophistication that merged astronomy with long-range engineering. The sphere appeared not only to speak, but to sing in harmony with the universe itself. Such synchronization raised hypotheses about whether the sphere's purpose extended beyond communication. Some researchers speculated it might function as a stabilizing instrument, a device that used harmonic frequencies to maintain balance in regions of space where gravitational forces intersected in delicate equilibrium. If true, the sphere could be part of a network designed to keep cosmic structures stable across eons. This interpretation reframed the object from a lone artifact into a potential instrument of cosmic maintenance, one that performed its task with serene precision. While the broader implications stirred imagination, a different line of analysis explored the sphere's surface properties. High-resolution spectral imaging captured faint thermal signatures that differed depending on the signal's intensity. The variation was small but consistent, indicating the surface was engaging in controlled temperature modulation. It was not cooling or heating in a natural cycle. Instead, the thermal shifts corresponded directly to emission patterns, suggesting that the exterior acted as part of an integrated communication system. Rather than being a passive shell, the sphere's surface functioned like a living membrane, absorbing, regulating, and redirecting energy as part of its signaling process. Engineers found this approach profoundly different from human technology. Earth-based communication devices typically isolate their functions. Structure, power, thermal control, and transmission systems operate independently. The Buga Sphere embodied a different philosophy entirely, one where every component served multiple purposes in seamless unity. Structure became circuitry, temperature became modulation, motion became encoding. The entire object functioned as a single, holistic instrument. These discoveries inspired renewed interest in deciphering the modulation layers. As computational models grew more refined, analysts detected that the sphere encoded variations in phase shifts at scales smaller than human sensors typically focused on. These micro-variations created interference patterns that formed complex wave lattices extending far beyond the sphere's immediate surroundings. The shape of these lattices suggested that the transmissions were not merely intended for receivers using conventional electromagnetic detection. Instead, they appeared optimized for interacting with the quantum substrate of space-time itself. This possibility astonished physicists. If the sphere was designed to imprint its information on subtle quantum fields, then its reach would extend far beyond the limitations of classical electromagnetic propagation. Its messages might travel farther, with less degradation, or interact with exotic particles in ways humanity had yet to understand. It meant the sphere could be communicating across extraordinary distances, perhaps even across vast cosmic voids where electromagnetic signals would weaken to near nothingness. The idea that the sphere might operate at quantum levels forced scientists to reevaluate long-held assumptions about interstellar communication. Humanity had focused on radio waves and optical signals, but the sphere's builders might have explored deeper layers of reality where the boundaries between matter, energy, and information became blurred. If so, they had achieved mastery over forces that Earth had only glimpsed through theoretical work and laboratory experimentation. While physicists pondered these questions, anthropologists and philosophers began examining the cultural implications of such a discovery. They considered the possibility that the creators of the sphere had reached a point where communication was not merely an exchange of data, but an expression of existence itself. If their science, art, and identity were intertwined in a single mode of expression, the sphere's transmissions might represent a worldview that fused the practical with the profound. This interpretation cast the signals not as cold calculations, but as a reflection of a civilization that perceived the universe with unity, not fragmentation. As decoding progressed, one of the most surprising discoveries involved the temporal distribution of the signals. Although they repeated certain patterns, they also exhibited long-period cycles that took weeks to reveal. These extended cycles suggested the sphere was not delivering a single message, but a sequence of evolving expressions. The structure resembled a narrative cadence, not in words, but in the shifting relationships between frequencies. It was as if the sphere was presenting ideas through transformation rather than static symbols. Information theorists compared the evolving sequences to mathematical symphonies, where each movement built upon the last. The longer the study continued, the clearer it became that the sphere's transmissions were part of a grand, slow unfolding composition. This approach differed dramatically from human communication, which often prioritized speed and brevity. The sphere's pacing reflected patience stretching across unimaginable spans of time, a message intended for civilizations capable of listening with endurance. This temporal complexity heightened the sense that the sphere was offering an invitation to evolve. Its signals demanded sustained attention, long-term collaboration, and intellectual humility. Understanding them required more than decoding. It required developing new forms of thinking. Humanity had to stretch beyond its usual frameworks, embracing concepts that intertwined logic with aesthetics and analysis with intuition. Meanwhile, researchers discovered that the sphere's emissions exhibited a form of environmental sensitivity extending beyond solar activity. When Earth-based telescopes directed specific wavelengths towards the sphere, the object responded with subtle alterations in its signal. These were not overt changes but delicate adjustments, as if acknowledging the observational probes. The responsiveness implied a level of awareness that sent waves of excitement through the scientific community. The sphere was not just broadcasting, it was listening. This discovery opened a realm of new possibilities. If the sphere could detect directed wavelengths, then intentional modulation from Earth could theoretically initiate a form of interaction. The signals humans might transmit would be crude compared to the sphere's refined harmonics, but the responsiveness indicated that even basic attempts might be acknowledged. This prospect ignited discussions about how humanity should proceed. Researchers debated the merits of caution versus curiosity, weighing the significance of a potential response against the unknown consequences of contacting an intelligence whose motives and history remained a mystery. As scientists grappled with these decisions, engineers and material scientists focused on the potential implications of the sphere's construction. The perfectly smooth exterior confounded conventional understanding. Scanning attempts suggested the surface possessed an adaptive density profile, shifting subtly in response to electromagnetic exposure. Rather than resisting or absorbing radiation in predictable ways, it transformed the energy into internal patterns that circulated through the structure. This behavior resembled the properties of metamaterials, but on a scale and level of refinement far beyond Earth's capabilities. Such adaptive properties implied that the sphere could withstand extreme environments from radiation storms to gravitational disturbances. It might be capable of self-repair or metamorphic transformation, adjusting its properties to ensure stability across countless epochs. The durability required to survive cosmic hazards for millennia, perhaps millions of years, would necessitate technologies far surpassing those humanity had imagined. The possibility that the sphere was effectively immortal, built to endure long after its creators had vanished, lent it an air of solemn majesty. The more that was discovered, the more researchers appreciated the sphere's subtlety. It did not assert dominance or attempt to influence its surroundings. It existed with quiet confidence, maintaining its transmissions regardless of the turmoil or fluctuations of nearby worlds. Its behavior reflected a sense of purpose that transcended urgency. The signals continued with steady persistence, as if the sphere anticipated that one day, some civilization would reach a level of clarity sufficient to listen with understanding. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the Buga Sphere signals and what happens next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.